Api chet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadhur eva sa mantavyah samyag vyavasito hi saha api chet suduracharo bhajate mamananya bhak sadhureva samantavyah samyag vyavasito hi saha api chet suduracharo bhajate mamananya bhak sadhureva samantavyah samyag vyavasito hi saha api chet suduracharo bhajate mamananya bhak sadhureva samantavyah samyag vyavasito hi saha api chet suduracharo bhajate mamananya bhak sadhureva samantavyah samyag vyavasito hi saha api chet suduracharo bhajate mamananya bhak sadhureva samantavyah samyag vyavasito hi saha api even chet if sudurachara one committing the most abominable actions bhajate is engaged in devotional service unto me ananya bhak without deviation sadhu a saint eva certainly saha he mantavyah is to be considered samyak completely vyavasitaha situated in determination he certainly saha he. Translation: even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. Please repeat. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he's engaged in devotional service, he's to be considered saintly because he's properly situated in his determination. Purport. The word suduracharaha used in this verse is very significant, and we should understand it properly. When a living entity is conditioned, he has two kinds of activities. One is conditional and the other is constitutional. As for protecting the body or abiding by the rules of society and state, certainly there are different activities, even for the devotees. In connection with the conditional life and such activity, even for the devotees. In connection with the conditional life, and such activities are called conditional. Besides these, the living entity who is fully conscious of his spiritual nature and is engaged in Krishna consciousness or the devotional service of the Lord has activities which are called transcendental. Such activities are performed in his constitutional position, and they're technically called devotional service. Now, in the conditioned state, sometimes devotional service and the conditional service in relation to the body will parallel one another. But then again, sometimes these activities become opposed to one another. As far as possible, a devotee is very cautious so that he does not do anything that could disrupt his wholesome condition. He knows that perfection in his activities depends on his progressive realization of Krishna consciousness. Sometimes, however, it may be seen that a person in Krishna consciousness commits some act which may be taken as most abominable socially or politically. But such a temporary fall down does not disqualify him. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that if a person falls down but is wholeheartedly engaged in the transcendental service of the Supreme Lord, the Lord, being situated within his heart, purifies him and excuses him from that abomination. The material contamination is so strong that even a yogi fully engaged in the service of the Lord sometimes becomes ensnared. But Krishna consciousness is so strong that such an occasional fall down is at once rectified. Therefore, the process of devotional service is always a success. No one should deride a devotee for some accidental fall down from the ideal path, for, as explained in the next verse, such occasional fall downs will be stopped in due course, as soon as a devotee is completely situated in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a person who is situated in Krishna consciousness and is engaged with determination in the process of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, should be considered to be in the transcendental position, even if by chance or accident he is found to have fallen. The words Sadhureva, he is saintly, are very emphatic. They are a warning to the non-devotees that because of an accidental fall down, the devotee should not be derided. He should still be considered saintly even if he has accidentally fallen down. And the word mantavya is still more emphatic. If one does not follow this rule and deride the devotee for his accidental fall down, then one is disobeying the order of the Supreme Lord. The only qualification of a devotee is to be unflinchingly and exclusively engaged in devotional service. In the Nrsimha Purana, the following statement is given. Bhagavatya chaharao Bhagavati chaharavanya cheta vrishamalinopi virajate manusya nahisha shakalusha chabi kadachit timira para bhavatam upaiti chandra. The meaning is that even if one fully engaged in devotional service of the Lord is sometimes found engaged in abominable activities, these activities should be considered to be like the spots that resemble the mark of a rabbit on the moon. Such spots do not become an impediment to the diffusion of moonlight. Similarly, the accidental fall down of a devotee from the path of saintly character does not make him abominable. On the other hand, one should not misunderstand that a devotee in transcendental devotional service can act in all kinds of abominable ways. This verse only refers to an accident due to the strong power of material connections. Devotional service is more or less a declaration of war against the illusory energy. As long as one is not strong enough to fight the illusory energy, there may be accidental fall downs. But when one is strong enough, he is no longer subjected to such fall downs. As previously explained, no one should take advantage of this verse and commit nonsense and think that he is still a devotee. If he does not improve in his character by devotional service, then it is to be understood that he is not a high devotee. Om Gyanati Virandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahim Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yuta Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunantam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivashakam Vitamscha Ye Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namustute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhischa kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation: even if one commits the most abominable action, if he's engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he's properly situated in his determination. Okay, so here's so here's a verse that the Lord is trying to reassure us of. What if we do mistakes? Because it's possible that we might go back to our previous tendencies, so for example, us in the Western world, Srila Prabhupada came here and we are from backgrounds of drugs or illicit sex or things like that, much more than in India, correct? We see how Prabhupada's first disciples were hippies. Many of them were addicted to hard drugs, LSD, and all of that. So, but Krishna doesn't look at these things. There's this verse in the, I think it is in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Bhavagrahi Janardana. Bhavagrahi Janardana. So, Bhava means the feeling. So, Krishna looks at the feeling of a devotee. He looks at the sincerity. He doesn't necessarily calculate all the little mistakes and all. That's not like that. So he's very kind, and that's why he speaks this verse here. So he says that, okay, let's say a devotee is very serious, but then he does something horrible. If he's serious in his devotional service, he still has to be considered a saint. So that's very important. And if you look at the Sanskrit, he said, so Ananya Bhak. So here, Ananya Bhak, if we go word for word, Ananya Bhak means without deviation. So the point is that not that Krishna one day, Shiva the next, Ganesh the next. Prabhupada gave a class on that verse, and he says just Krishna. Not that we go to someone else, So if we just worship Krishna without trying to seek another shelter, then the Lord will be is saying that sadhu eva, so he's certainly a saint. And then we can say, okay, but he must be less of a saint. We might think like that. Well, he's done sins, he's gone back to his past habit. It must be a lesser of a devotee. But Krishna says samyak. Samyak means completely. So there's no even question of thinking him lower than Krishna says he's completely a devotee, even though he's made a mistake. So this should be encouraging, that if we're sincerely trying, even though we might make some temporary mistakes, Krishna is not caring for that. He's just looking at how much service we do, And this can be very easily understood for a child, like a mother who looks at the son. The son makes hundreds of mistakes a day, but she doesn't care for that. She cares for what he does good, and she will encourage that. So unfortunately, this verse has been used to support the deviations of some of the devotees in our movement. So we know that many sannyasis have fallen down, and they're using this verse to protect them. But Prabhupada explains clearly towards the end of the purport. What does he say? He says, on the other hand, One should not misunderstand the last paragraph. On the other hand, one should not misunderstand that a devotee in transcendental devotional service can act in all kinds of abominable ways. Abominable ways. Hein? Ça, parce que des fois, one time, I was in China, and you know the fall down of Giriraj Swami that happened? Maybe you don't know much. Maybe 1 or 2 years ago, I think. Well, one sannyasi fell down, Giriraj Swami, with his disciple, had an illicit relation. So some disciples of Giriraj Swami were there in China. And in China, they're kind of blocked from what's going on. They don't know much. So they knew that I'm a Westerner. So some of them contacted me and said, what happened to my guru? So there was one lady who just wanted to know. She was not a disciple, so and I shared with her verses to show that a pure devotee cannot even think of sex. You know, sex cannot even develop in his mind. So what to speak of doing it? A pure devotee is completely controlling his senses. So, but she said, prior to me sharing this verse, she said, couldn't a pure devotee, even though engaged in sex, not be affected by it? You know. So she asked, maybe she was asking a real question. So then I shared that verse that the pure devotee cannot even think. So that's the thing, you see. But here Prabhupada is warning, you cannot use this verse and still act in abominable ways. Prabhupada says this verse only refers to an accident due to the strong power of material connections. Accident. Accident means what? Accident is something that happens very seldom. You know, it's not something that happen every single day and like that. So, and then devotional service is more or less a declaration against the illusory energy, as long as it's not strong enough. But when one is strong enough, he's no longer subjected to such fall downs. You see, when he's strong enough, he's no longer subjected to such fall downs. So, if these people fall down, that means they're not strong enough. So how can they be guru? Guru means heavy. You know, if you have to be strong enough to deliver your disciple, but you cannot even deliver yourself. But then in ISKCON, they will say, well, he at least he tried. You know, why do you blame him? You know, he tried his best, like that. It's not about trying. It's about having the qualification. You know, if I say, well, I will try to fly this plane, and I got 100 passengers, and I crash it, should I say, well, at least I tried? No, because I've killed so many people. This is not something very that should be taken very lightly. So then Prabhupada concludes, no one should take advantage of this verse and commit nonsense and think that he's still a devotee. Okay? If he does not improve in his character, I'm sorry, but these people have been chanting for 40 years. Where's the improvement? If he does not improve in his character by devotional service, then it is to be understood that he is not a high devotee. So that's one side of it. But the other side is that we should be, how can I say, hopeful for ourselves that we will become purified and give up all our previous habits. And at the same time, we also should also see other devotees in that light. We should not criticize. So like one devotee does a mistake and immediately point finger. No. We should try to see the good. So the next verse, 931, Bhagavad Gita 931, Krishna says, Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvachantim nigacchati kaunteya pratijani namhe bhakta pranashyati. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. So Krishna is saying, he is saying he will become righteous. And then he's telling Arjuna, you say it, that my devotee will never perish. So we have the assurance that we are certain of success. It's just we have to be patient. The process is taking place. Purification is happening. We need to tolerate, because there will be disturbances, there will be tests. We will fail some tests. We will succeed others, but we should not give up. We should not think, no, I'm too low, I cannot do that. Nobody, not no, that's the Maya's trick. You're too low, you'll never be able, you don't deserve to be with devotees, all this stuff. This is Maya speaking. Because Krishna says opposite. He says, no, everybody, right? Oh no, I'm a woman, I cannot advance, or something like that. So many different types. So therefore, what does he say? Next verse, 932. Mam hi partha vyapashritya yepis yupapa yonayah striyo vaishyas tatha shudras tepi anti param gatim. O son of Prita, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, vaishyas, merchants, and shudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination. And if you look actually at the Sanskrit, Krishna says also Papa Yonayaha. Papa Yonayaha means born of a lower family. You see? So according to Vedic standards, most of us in the West are born of lower families, because lower family means meat, intoxication, gambling, illicit sex, these things. Like in a very traditional Indian family, there's no question of divorce. But us in the West, divorce is 50% of the people at least, not more now. So from Vedic standard, we are born in lower grade families. So this trick of Maya that you're too low, you're too sinful, that is wrong, because she's tricking you, saying Krishna's mercy is not that great. Because you might think, well, Krishna might be merciful upon Zada, but not upon me. So basically, that is lack of faith. Of course, it's good to think oneself low. It's not, it's not a bad quality to be humble. But when it becomes detrimental to spiritual advancement, that is not proper humility. When it helps us advance spiritually, that is good humility. So the Lord is saying, anybody can come to me. So we have to understand that there's different types of birth, there's different types of devotees coming to the movement, and we cannot expect everybody to be like a brahmana, having all the cleanliness and the austerity, all these stuff. But it doesn't matter. We have to see what the devotee does, because it is like a fan. Prabhupada says, when you unplug the fan seems to be spinning, but it's not actually. It's simply stopping, because the power is no longer there. So similarly, when we start devotional service, we start to chant and all, our karma is unplugged. What is going on is simply the remnants of that. So we have to be into that mindset when we speak of devotees also. We should not criticize freely and like that. So the Lord says, he gives also the assurance in a few verses before, 922. Ananyas chintayanto mam yechana parupasate tersham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshamam vahamyaham. Again, here he says ananya. Ananya means having no other object. You see? In the other verse, 930, he said bhajate mam ananya. You see? Ananya bhak. So the same word, ananya, having no other object. So Prabhupada explained this means only Krishna. Hindus who go to the Vishnu temple, sometimes these verses don't apply to them, because they're not ananya. They go for Rudra, they go for Ganesh Chaturthi, all these things. So that doesn't count as ananya. Ananya means only accepting Krishna as one shelter. So Ananya Chintayanto. So he says, Krishna says, but those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, so exclusive, only for him. Of course, Krishna means his different forms, his spiritual master, but no demigods, no powerful men also. Because sometimes I might Krishna, 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 oh, Trump, 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 Of course, devotees also sometimes discuss politics, but it's in light of Krishna consciousness, not Trump is the savior of the world. Forget Krishna. Not like that. We can see, speaking about how Krishna can use some personalities in the world. We can see in that light, but not that separate savior. No. So always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form. To them I carry what they lack, and I preserve what they have. So if we do that, whatever we lack, we might lack discipline, we might lack austerity, we might lack cleanliness, we might lack knowledge. Krishna says, don't worry, I have these things. And what we have, whatever spiritual advancement we've done, he keeps, he preserves. So there's this Subal Prabhu shared something nice in the group today concerning Krishna's protection. So it's in the Krishna, it's from Bhagavad Gita. It's a class, Bhagavad Gita 3:8-13 in New York, May 20th, 1966. So Srila Prabhupada says, so many people were in difficulty, and so many people died for want of food, diseases, famine, because when there is want of food, but you will be surprised. I inquired in 1942. So Prabhupada is speaking in 1942 in Calcutta. There was, India as a whole. Persons who were in our line, engaged in devotional service. I also purchased at the same time. I had in my family life at that time, I had some responsibility. Myself, my wife, my 5 children, servant, and so many, about 10 people. So Prabhupada is saying that he had to take care of 10 people. Provide, right? And I was purchasing rice. So anyway, management was going on, but so many people died because there was famine. Remember, there was no food. I inquired from them individually, and I was satisfied that they were not in difficulty, even in that famine circumstances. Even from the villages, I inquired that, were you in difficulty? They replied, no, we have no difficulty. Somewhere or other, we are managing. So this is practical. Anyone who is engaged in devotional service, whose life is dedicated for service of the Supreme, you will see practically that there will be no want. There will be no unhappiness. That is a fact. So Krishna is providing us, How come that devotees, they get what they want? We want food, food is there. We want shelter, shelter is there. Materially speaking, we want a way to serve and all. And these things just happen. For example, Mataji, you want a devotee association, and 3 devotees are coming from Montreal, So why is it happening? You live on the same street as me, same name. So Krishna is showing how he's there and he's taking care of us. And the more that we endeavor to go to him, the more he will reciprocate. You see, now we did the endeavor to come here, and books are being sold like anything, like hotcakes. So Krishna is showing that, yes, you're doing something that I'm happy with you. So why not? Why not take this one life, try to preach? Because material life means trouble, isn't it? Who has no trouble at work? Who has no trouble with family? Who has no trouble with society, with the law? Everybody. And when we say, why not take a bit of trouble to preach? Oh, no. Why? Trouble is there always. So just take the trouble for Krishna. Why not? It will be there on the left and in the right. So why not on the right for Krishna? At least this is eternal benefit. Correct? But no, people want the trouble for their sense gratification, and then die with no actual merit. So this is why it's so important to give knowledge to people, distribute books, so we give them a chance to, because unless we approach them, how will these people know? They have no actual free will, to choose. What else they're going to do? We cannot blame them, like going to the cinema, restaurant, and all. What else are they going to do? That's all they know. So it's our duty, those who have knowledge, to try to help them out. Of course, uh, I mean to say, we have physician, heal thyself. We cannot start to tell others to stop smoking if we smoke. Meaning, we have to follow in our own life also. That's first. Then after that, we can try to help others. But firstly is us, to try to apply this knowledge into our life. So this knowledge is very simple. Krishna says also at the last verse of chapter 9, I think it's 934. Yes, 934. What does he say? I'm sure you might have heard this sentence. Manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mam evashyasiti yuktvaivam atmanam mat parayana. So it's very easy what Krishna wants us to do. Engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee, offer obeisances to me, and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. So first, engage your mind always in thinking of me. That's why Prabhupada is giving us the deity worship, because we can sew for Krishna, we can cook for Krishna, we can, dress the murti with a bathe, all this thing. Of course, in the beginning, when we're not initiated, we can do with pictures. Pictures, at least we can do arti, we can wipe the frame, we can offer the prasadam, like that. So there's a start like that. Then becoming my devotee. Devotee means he does devotional service, which starts with Shravanam Kirtanam. So chanting and reading or hearing classes. Shravanam Kirtanam. That's how we start. And then offer obeisances, like bowing down like this. Hindus don't do that. They're not being taught. At one point, I was listening to a class to Sinagopa Prabhu. It was a Sunday feast lecture. So in Sundays in Singapore, there's many Hindus that come also. So Nagopal Prabhu, he said, you see, Krishna here says, Mam Namaskuru, offer obeisances. So he says, here we teach you to bow down. Because in Hindu temple, when the deities are there, they stand like that. They don't bow down. But Krishna says, no, bow down. So it's not, of course, if we misunderstand Krishna, we might feel a bit agitated to see this. Why should I bow down to him? But if we start to learn about him and understand he breathes out universes, then there's a good reason to bow down, isn't it? It's no longer, it's just natural. We bow down to great, we offer respect to greater persons. So he's the greatest. So you see the Sanskrit here. He says, Manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyajimam namaskuru. He says the exact same two lines in the 18th chapter. He says in 1855, I think. No. Yeah, 1865. Yeah. So 1865, you see, Man mana bhavamad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. There's no change in the first two lines. And even the third line, the first two words is also the same. Mam evashyasi. But then he said, Mam evashyasi satyante pratijane priyosime. So he says, always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. So if we do that, we will go back to him without fail. Anyway, we cannot stay here. We can't stay. that's actually, if when we start to realize that there is death and we cannot stay here, we should be fearful. We should not be like, oh, it's okay, I don't, like they say, right? "Ah, I don't think about that." No, that's a lack of intelligence. We should be fearful. We should all, Prabhupada says, we should always keep death ahead of us. Meaning, okay, maybe it's tomorrow. Maybe it's tomorrow. So in this way, we'll become, okay, more serious. I gotta advance spiritually. I gotta get myself ready. Because if we come to that moment, death, and we're not ready, then what's the point? We can act like devotee, but the final test will be death. Hmm? So there's a verse concerning that. It's in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Sorry. Just one moment. Okay. 5:19-14 Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam 5:19-14. I'll read the translation directly. Materialists are generally very attached to their present bodily comforts and to the bodily comforts they expect in the future. Therefore, they are always absorbed in thoughts of their wives, children, and wealth, and are afraid of giving up their bodies, which are full of stool and urine. Bhagavatam is very sharp sometimes. You see, so karmis, they're absorbed in sense gratification, so therefore they're extremely attached to their family members because their family members are aids. They're helping them into their sense gratification, right? So they're always afraid of giving up their body. It's not true. Sometimes the karmis will say, "Oh, no, I'm not afraid of that." They'll say like that. We know from Shastra that they're lying. They might say like that, but then if there's a fire here, they'll run out. Right? Why? You're not afraid of death. Just stay and die, No, I'll run out. So it's simply foolishness and pride that makes them say that. If a person engaged in Krishna consciousness, however, is also afraid of giving up his body, what is the use of his having labored to study the Shastras? It was simply a waste of time. See? So us, because we get this knowledge, because we have the means of practicing and advancing spiritually, we should come to the point of not fearing death anymore. So that's one of the benefit of spiritual advancement. So anyway, the way to do that, the way to advance spiritually, of course, is association with devotees. And that we can see in the Bhagavad Gita 10:11. Teshamevanu not 10:11, 10:9. Machchitta madgata prana bodhayantah parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushanti cha ramanti cha. I got it in French here. Okay. So Krishna says, the thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. See? So the devotee's business is to share their realization with one another so that they get more enlightenment. And then it says they get satisfaction and bliss. So the more we discuss, the more we become purified, the more we develop taste for these classes. You see, in Singapore, they're having classes every morning. Everybody's just sitting there every single morning, day in, day out. I mean, 300, of course, some days more services is there, but let's say 300 classes a year. sitting, and they every morning they go and they sit and they want, and yes, I listen. That means what? That means taste is there. Can you sit down 300 days a year discussing about John Lennon? Yeah, John Lennon was that. John Lennon did. You want to, It's horrible. It's actually a torture. I wouldn't do it if someone paid me. So, but how come we can sit and discuss about Krishna? That means something is there. There must be some taste, Otherwise, we will not want to do these things. Just talking about one person again and again and again with the same person every single day. It's madness, isn't it? So, but somehow or other it works. Why? And the same name, we chant only one name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Same mantra again and again and again. Imagine you see one person every day sings the same song, sits down every day, talks 2 hours about that same person who sings that song, and then has a frame of that person and dresses and change the clothes of the. He's a maniac. It's not possible. So, but us, we're doing it and we're happy. You see, if I would have taken that flower, let's say, I would have given to you or whatever. You're like, okay, thank you. But I put it here. You're like, wow. And not just you, but me and you, we're all wow. So you see, so one flower offering to God pleases all the devotees, But if someone gives you a flower, you're like, okay, thanks. That's it. Finish. So, but when we offer to Krishna, then the devotees automatically become satisfied. Prabhupada says, practically speaking, to understand, just like look like prasadam. People normally they don't like to cook like opulently for themselves. When you go to people's house, they'll do like some macaroni and very simple stuff. Nobody will be like, oh, tonight I'll make a feast. Nobody, like, they come home, they're tired. But devotees, they're like, okay, let's make a feast. Every Sunday at least. So why? Because okay, let's endeavor to cook something nice. But after that, the feast is there, still there. So who's eating? And it's a fact that devotees eat better than anybody else. That's a fact. Because first of all, we don't put dead bodies in our mouths. That's already a good start. And then, I mean, if, for example, like I take Singapore as an example, because that's the temple I've been full time in. Every day you get like, two, three sabjis, one dal, one nice rice, chapati, some pakora, some da da da, and the breakfast is always opulent with paneer and all. And the evening you get some cakes and sweet rice. I mean, wow! Every day you get a buffet, So it's a fact. Devotees are the one that eats the most succulent food. So why? Because of their devotion to the Lord. So everything, if we just serve Krishna, everything will be arranged, everything will be managed, and we will be happy. Satisfaction and bliss. There's another verse where Krishna says it's happy. 9.2. Susukam kartumavyayam. The last line of 9.2. Susukam kartumavyayam. So that means it is everlasting. It is joyfully performed. Joyfully performed. Devotees are supposed to be happy. So that's why it's important to preach, because preaching means what? Ultimately means to create a happy community of devotees. That's the end. The end goal of distributing books is to be happy living with another devotee. That's all. And then you have more devotees and more devotees and more devotees. So that's why to preach, distribute books, that's good. But life is in the temple. You need to have a place so people can come. You need to have this activity of Shravanam Kirtanam. You need to have the deities. You need to have the life going on. Because this is how you'll be happy, every single day. So Prabhupada did that. He opened so many temples. Fortunately, we cannot go to these temples, but we still have the books. Books is the basis. So from the books, everything can be revived from this knowledge. And this is what we're trying to do in ISKM. So thank you very much to Sita Mataji for inviting us. Very kind of you. Anything you'd like to add, or questions or anything? Krantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Go Premanande. Hari Hari.